and then obviously delet meaning doorway. So I just found that was interesting, because when you put the D onto evil, it is the devil. So the devil, the D, is the doorway to evil. So you can have both ways, can't we? You can be influenced by not only just good, but evil. Good and evil, the battle of good and evil. It's been going on forever. Now, I talked about in the video about the influence, and could it actually be a frequency, a wave, basically, affecting people, actually pushing people over the edge. And we all have the capability, and good and bad. Some of us moral compasses is different. Now, I was just talking about it's down to perspective, in the sense of, if I'm really evil, my perspective of evil won't be what your perspective of evil is. And we get taught this, what's right and wrong, from our parents. They're at the beginning of our moral compass and so-called society. So I just found it interesting that the fourth letter of the Roman alphabet, the letter D, is delet, and that actually means doorway. I'm talking about doors in this video. And the Greek delta, D, is a pyramid, all-seeing eye, the pineal gland, and the Roman numerals is said to be half of that. It's weird writing, which was an early form of M, and could that be a coincidence that they all did the M sign? And considering it is next to the pineal gland, I just found that was fascinating to try and show you just what crazy things going on in my head. What is a door? Is it just something you walk through and close behind? Let's have a look at what the definition is, what they say. A hinge, slide and revolving barrier at the entrance to a building, room or vehicle, or in the framework of a cupboard, a doorway. So you can see how what they say is not much information on it. I want to change that. So in this video, I hope to show, basically, that doors are so much more. It is said that passing through this door represents the symbolic act of the transition from this life to the next. So, symbolic meaning. Let's look at the root. So the early 15th century means creed, religious belief. Also from the Latin means token, mark, and from the Greek symbolon, watchword, a sign by which one infers. I mean, just look how symbolic doors are. They're like logos now. TV, films, you name it, they're everywhere, and they're very symbolic. North Door at St Edward's Church, 750 years old. Saint Sabina Door, Rome, 1500 years old. Bernward Doors, Hildesheim Cathedral, Germany, 1000 years old, bronze. The stone doors at Hampi, India, carved from one piece of solid stone, 500 years old. And the significance of doors are, they have a band named after them, the Doors. Here's a quote: "There are things known and there are things unknown, and in between are the doors." Jim Morrison. Just shows you the significance of doors. And in this video, that is what I plan on doing, showing you the significance of doors, rituals, etc., everything. I had to start with this, so let's start at the beginning. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. I've always been fascinated with that verse, and I know why now. Some of you might be at you thinking or asking, what's the Word of God got to do with a door or doorways? Now, the Word of God is the creation of the first earthly door. Now, let me show you how I came to that conclusion. So, I anagrammed the word, and that revealed D-O-W-O, door. Now, the Proto-Indo word for oak is D-O-W-R, door, which later became the word for door. So the Word of God became a door. It is a door. I am the door, John 10:9. So he states he is a door. They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord, for the display of his splendour, Isaiah 61:3. So you can see the connection, oaks and doorways. Now, must be a coincidence that Adam, one of the first humans, contains a door, which is Delet, and you can quite see it right in the middle. So even the name contains Delet, which is a door, but it also means blood too. The simple meaning of Delet can be conveyed to us in three ways, and I'm going to show you them now. Delet is cognate with the word delet, which means obviously door. Delet can also be read as dalat, which means pour. Finally, deleth or delet, it pronounces different ways, also represents dilisoni, which is translated as to lift me up. And delet is the symbol of dimensions. Funny that, isn't it? Obviously dimensions and concern, and given three values, 400, 30 and 4, that's 11. Again, we're seeing all these 11s that represents the pathway, the doorway, the gate. It's crazy. This next bit made me go wow and chuckle at the same time, because you know I love playing with words, guys. You know I've done a spell etymology series, and we've talked about in this so far of dileth meaning doorway, door, and dilisoni, which means to lift me up. Well, as you can see, lev in Latin, meaning it means to lift. Now, it's finding such words as levitate, elevate, elevator, and it just blew me away. So what word? So obviously the summary, the Latin word lev means light in weight. So what word could I connect to a door? And what I've been trying to get through in all my videos in regard to LEV, lev, and it blew me away. So I'll give you a few seconds. So what word do you think it is? It's a little bit of a trick there. I'm playing a little trick, right, guys? So it's actually a word of a number, E11 or L even, whatever way you want to look at it, contains a lev, meaning light. But also 11 represents the two posts, the doorway, and a certain god I've mentioned a few times called Janus. So you can just see how blown away I was finding, obviously, dilisoni meaning light in weight, to lift me up. And I found that 11, L-E-V, lev, means in Latin to lift. It's crazy, the coincidence that I'm finding. Hopefully you can see what I'm trying to get at in this one. I believe with doors, and a lot of people think, yeah, Paul, you've got doors on the brain. But metaphorically, spiritually, whatever way you want to look at it, I just believe it fits so much, especially when you read stuff like this from the Bible, when it talks about lift up your heads, you gates, lift them up, you ancient doors, that the King of glory may come in. Who is he? The King of Glory, the Lord Almighty. He is the King of Glory. So when you see all these things about I am the gate, I am the doors, you ancient doors, that's us. It's talking about us. Why is it referring us to doors? Some people say, well, it's metaphorically. Doesn't matter, we're still doors. And this is what I want to get in this video, all the rituals about doors, not every single one, but you know what I mean. I want to show you the significance of doors, even from evil itself, because we always say devil is at your door. Well, let's look at the letter D, the fourth letter of the Roman alphabet, from the Greek delta. Where have we heard that lately? From the Phoenician and Hebrew word deleth, which is delet, pausal from the def meaning door. So just the letter D is a doorway. So remember that when you're thinking about good and evil. It's crazy, isn't it? The letter D is for door. So when you look at evil, and when evil comes a knocking, does that then change the evil to the devil? Because remember, D is the door. So when evil is knocking at your door, it becomes the devil. The devil knocking at your door. It's just crazy when you start to look at things a little bit different. And I did a video on this a while ago. It was one of the last videos that I did on the old channel. And it's always stuck to me about all the rituals about doors, because I'm never really looking into it. So this is just why I wanted to just hone in on doors and find everything spiritual, metaphorically, anything that can just show the significance of a door. So think about it. When evil is at your door, it becomes the devil. So I've talked about lev before and evil. Isn't it, I'm not going to say a coincidence, that an alternative form of evil from the Middle English, evil. So EVEL is how evil was spelled, and it contains a lev backwards. Now we're talking about lev meaning to lift up, like lift up your heads, you ancient doors. So if we mirror it and turn it around, it becomes vel, E-vel. Are we talking about the doors pushing you down, taking you down? Is this heaven and hell? Just a thought, see what you guys think. I just think it's wow. Even though this is not door related, I had to include it. From 2015 until 13th of July 2021, the Houses of Commons had a bill called EVEL, English Votes, English Laws. I just thought that was just too much not to put in, considering what I've just talked about. It just popped up as I'm searching for the video. It's just crazy when things happen like that. If evil is live backwards, that got me thinking about door. So door backwards is rude. What does rude mean? Sounds a bit like if you're being rude, but I want to know what it meant. And a rood or a rude cross, sometimes known as a triumphal cross, is a cross or crucifix. And have a guess where the rude cross is situated. So I'll give you some few seconds. And yes, you got it. The rood is set above a door or an entranceway in a medieval church. And there's just a few examples of them. You can see it above a door. Beautiful, aren't they? What's the odds of that? It's just crazy. Rude is door backwards and it's set above a door. It just blew me away, that did. Feng Shui, also known as Chinese geomancy, is an ancient Chinese traditional practice. Feng Shui translates to wind and water, studies the flow of energy within an environment. The ancient Chinese art adheres to a system of laws that help to harness the spiritual energy around you called Qi. And it's funny that Qi is also a door in Gematria 11. Some people don't like me using this numerology, saying I'm doing it wrong, but it's to the individual. The well-known practice seeks to promote balance and harmony. Your front door is where your home gets most of its chi. It's how energy flows and enters, also where first impressions are made. So the ancient Chinese knew that the flow of energy affects humans. So the placement of the door would affect you or I and the flow of chi, which is life force. So door placement is key. Triumphal arches are also doors that control the flow. Why do you think they are still standing? And you can look around your town, your cities, you can see these beautiful arches are still there. They act like transistors and amplify the energy. It's why arches are embedded into the motherboard. Also, I believe they control the population's mood. It's strange, but I have that feeling, because if you look around this realm, all you see is obviously arches built, disused arches, supposed arches from bygone civilizations, all still standing. They're there for a purpose, they're there to control the flow of energy. This world is pure energy, vibration and frequency. So if these frequencies, this current, this life force flows, I mean, we even have arches that go on tour, for God's sake. It's just crazy to think about, but archways and doorways, that's what basically they are. And that's why I'm so intrigued by them. I mean, look at this picture coming up now. It's one of the most famous that we all get shown about circuit boards on Earth. And you can see the flow of energy and it all goes through that. I had an old theory. Now, what you're seeing here is Westgate Freeway Portal. And it's in Melbourne, Australia. Now, when we had the first lockdowns, the first couple of lockdown cities that went into re-lockdown were Melbourne and Leicester. Now, both of these had significant arches. This is the Jury Wall. This is the only remaining Janus temple in the UK. So these first two cities went into re-lockdown before any other, and they were all on the news because it's casting that spell, and that's why it was important to get through that. Melbourne and Leicester were going back into lockdown because of the significant arches. And it's just a theory it had, and some people mocked it, but it became a reality. Most cities that went into lockdown had significant arches, not just little ditty ones, but significant arches. So as I've shown, arches are just doors on a bigger scale. Take for instance this is from the old circuit board video. What you're seeing is Manhattan, and the blue dots represent archways. Now just look where they are put. They are put down the spine of the city. They're controlling the flow of energy. I mean, we all talk about cymatics and the sound hitting a medium, creating patterns. Well, if you take about the architectural design of an arch or a door, if the energy is flowing, the life force is flowing through these doors, it's going through a shape. Now I wonder, is that shape, does it change to do different purposes? It's not just a structure for strength, but the actual energy flow that comes out of it is changed. An example of this could be when you change the shape of the blower. You know, when you're making blowing bubbles, if you have a different shape than a circle, you produce different shapes. This is just my idea on if you change the shape of the door, you can change in the shape of the energy and the flow. At the beginning of this, I talked about how the arches, like doors, could be transistors. Now this is a symbol for a transistor, and it resembles something startling, and I'm going to show you it now. I believe, yep, Baphomet. The transistor is the symbol for Baphomet, and I'll highlight it, I'll put it next to each other, and I'll also change colour, and I'll ghost it, so move it down on the top, and you see it fits perfectly. It's another where they've basically bastardized the energy. They've shown you that the transistor symbol is Baphomet. That just wowed me, that. See what you guys think. Door rituals and symbolism. I'm not going to put everyone in because of obvious reasons. But yeah, there is some famous ones. For instance, what you're seeing here now. The ritual of carrying the bride over the threshold. It's one of the most famous ones. People don't realise that. The threshold is a strip forming the bottom of the door. This ritual was carried out to protect the bride from worrisome demons which might be lurking about the new home. And this is from my pal Steve. And to save her strength so she could make her husband a sandwich. Oh, sorry, I forgot. And the dishes. It's a joke, by the way. I just couldn't help myself, guys. So in symbolism, the door can represent a beginning or an end. A doorway can lead to a new path and close up an old one. It can lead to mystery, fortune and danger. So they're really significant, really, if you think about it. To stand in the doorway is to be neither here or there, but in the in-between world. Is this the reason behind the doorway effect that I've talked about and done a video on? The reason we leave a room and forget. We are neither here or there. We are disconnected. So that'd just be the reason behind it. Here's some more door superstitions. When you visit a friend, you must leave by the same door you entered by. And this is to bring you and the person both good luck. If you enter through one door, then leave by another, guess what? You'll bring bad luck to you both. Remember that game as a child you played? We call it over here knock and run. So you knock and then you run off, obviously. Well, the old superstition goes, if no one is at the door, then death is coming for you. So that's where it comes from. So it's crazy to think about it, isn't it? If you see a spider crawling up your door, expect a visit from a stranger. So all these superstitions. And killing the spider in the doorway will ruin your chances of future opportunities. Like horseshoes, wishbones used to be hung over the door to bring all who passed under it a bit of good luck. Now, they say that if an unmarried woman hangs a wishbone over her door, can you guess? The first unmarried man, not a relative, to pass under it will be her future husband. And it goes likewise for men. So if you're single, get that tried. Pliny states that nails torn from graves and fastened to the threshold have power against nocturni lymphotone. That's basically your immune system and your lymphs. If you gain entry uninvited, it's sacrilegious. Thus, they have to get a search warrant. Now, this is not for you. This is to appease the liminal deities. They're the threshold and the door gods. It's deep when you really think about it. It's not your rights to protect, and it's the liminal deities. Now, vampires cannot enter on their own. They can't enter a house without an invitation. And that's because the threshold, on a mythological and spiritual level, is considered a kind of magical and protective barrier that gives security to the home. I mean, if you look at it, the bite resembles a number 11. Strange that when you think about it. I'm talking about doorways, and that's what 11 is. It represents a doorway. Oh, vampire bite 1001. It's an 11. 1 and 1 is a doorpost. Again, some people don't like me using this, but you cannot find these coincidences like this. It's just mind-blowing. And then at midnight on New Year's Eve, a tradition is to open the front door and let the old and let the new year in. Some people open the windows too. So these are just crazy rituals and superstitions from the past. Let's look at some more doors. Padman Abshamwami Temple holds many secret doors. I had to include this because it's so intriguing. In the temple were hidden doors, vaults. They eventually opened them. They opened 6 out of the 7. And according to reports, they found up to £22 billion worth of gold and precious stones. So you can see my surprise. And reports state it took 12 days for the treasure to be taken out of the vaults. 12 days. Just crazy. And according to other reports, it states that it contained this throne for an 18-foot tall person. And only one door remains closed in the temple, and that is the famous Vault B. Stories of looters being chased away by snakes pouring out from the door, and the sound of waves crashing on the door only adds fuel to the story. Folklore says it was sealed by a saint, and conflicting reports on whether it's been opened in the past. Now I had to include this. Taj Mahal also has hidden and sealed doors beneath. So it seems a pattern in India that they've got a lot of sealed doors. They say up to 22 sealed doors lay beneath. And this intrigued me because I never knew this, I'll be honest. And according to his story, there was a black Taj Mahal planned to be built across the river. And this is like an artist's, rendition of that. It would have been beautiful if it did get built, wouldn't it? It was to be his and her mausoleum. Obviously the white was for the wife, the queen, but it never got built, and that was supposedly going to be his, the black one, to match the white. So it's intriguing, and I just had to include it to show you guys. Here's a couple of quotes about doors. I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. Revelation 3:8. Wait, 3:8 adds to 11. That's just a coincidence. So I've got something to read out in a short, and I've got one more quote. It's just a theory that I've not come across, like it's come to me while I'm making this video. I'm going to include this because it regards the mind and obviously the doors. Because remember quotes like this: I'm trying to free your mind, Neo, but I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it. That's from the Matrix. So it just shows you it's all about the doors. Guys, this is going to be maybe be over people's head. It's over mine, to be honest. When I'm making this video, I came across this learning site, and when I was reading it, it just screamed to me the Mandela effect, a possible reason behind it. Now think about it. A doorway is also a threshold, and the gods, threshold gods, are also called liminal gods. And it just screamed to me, as soon as I was talking and looking at liminal, it reminded me straight away of the mind, subliminal. Because in many videos I've told you guys the best way to stimulate people who do not see what we see is help them to learn by subliminal messaging. The cabal do it with flicking imagery in between adverts, in the cinema, the pictures, and everywhere. It's everywhere. So it's a way of learning without you realising you're learning. You can call it mind control of sorts, because that's what they use it for. But I love to use it for learning, because people who resist, when you want to show them anything, they don't have an open mind. It's talking again. When your mind is closed, the door is closed. More door reference. When you're open-minded, you're open to all topics. The door is open. So if you're closed-minded, you need a key to get in. And what I've found is people do get defensive. When you're trying to knock at the door, beat at the door, people will get defensive. It's their castle, remember. It's their home. It's you. So that's why I don't believe in screaming at people and that, because 9 times out of 10 it just makes people walk away and run away, or clam up. So if you basically leave subliminal messaging on references to research things, I found that's an easy way for them to pick it up, because they're reading it, they're doing it without them realising it, that you're trying to unlock the doors for them. So it's all about liminal mind and subliminal and subconscious. I mean, it's crazy. Think about it. The subconscious mind controls 95% of your life. I didn't realise it was so high. So our brains are actively unconscious, meaning that the majority of the decisions we make and actions we take, our emotions and behaviours, depend on 95% of the brain activity that lies beyond our conscious awareness. See, in our heads we have a boundary, it's called a threshold. Strange that, isn't it? Threshold, like a door. And that people say above the conscious is something called superliminal, and it basically you're existing above the threshold of consciousness. Then below that is the subliminal, that is below the threshold, that you don't know you're actually learning. And I'm going to get into this and read out this. It's like a piece out of a book, and I'll show you some pictures and different things like that. And I just want to break through a new theory on the Mandela effect. I believe it exists, but you have a community, and this is not aimed at anyone in particular, because it's like any community. You have your good people and you have your bad people, you have your gatekeepers, no pun intended. We're talking about doors. We'll have people who pretend to be, oh, we're open, yet when you challenge the theory, it's attacking you. It's like my Mandela effect, showing you the origins in the Sumerian times. I've proved it through history, and I know we can't rely on history. We can't rely on anything we get our hands on. It's information. That's why we should never get triggered. So I've showed it can be traced back to ancient times. So what is the common denominator between ancient times and now? It's our mind. Ancient times we used to have a bicameral mind, they say. I can't take the word for it, I wasn't there. But I can just show you what I find, and I always leave it up to people to make their own judgments, because that's way you're learning for yourself. If I know a bit more, I'll say, go and research it. I don't want people to think I'm a teacher, and I'm not. I'm just one of the guys. I'm just like you. I'm intuitive. I make mistakes. I'm flawed. I'm hypocritical sometimes. When I'm doing a video, I'll start off with one place and I'll end up in another, because my mind's always open. I don't want to be restricted to one train of thought, and I'm always wrong. You know what I mean? Because we're human, a frequency. We're up and we're down. So I don't believe everything is said in this, but we're going to get to it and see what you guys think. I am part of, we start with a quote, I am part of all that I have met. Yeah, that's me and you, we're all together, we're all one. The one wave I've always talked about. Yet all our experiences is an arch where through gleams that untravelled world. Talking about arches, gateways, portals. Oh, never. Whose margin fades forever and forever when I move. So we're always moving. So the doors are always moving. Bit like Stargate, a starting point and a finishing point. Points in space. And there's liminal space. And when you say space, you get people triggered who are in certain communities. There's no such thing as space. There's no such thing as space that we are taught, but space is everywhere. Space is between all molecules. We vibrate. That's what I is, inner space. That's what I believe. But I've not been out of space. You've not been out of space. Dave's not been out of space. So who knows what actually anything is. But we're here to learn and look at different theories and squash them all together and come up with something decent. So I offered my definition of learning here. But here it is. I feel something more is to be said on the subject. Learning is a messy, complicated business, and I basically use this and mould into my theory by basing it on this theory. So learning is messy, complicated business. Imagine yourself standing before a dark, ominous doorway. Through it, if you can glimpse something previously unimagined, through it you can glimpse something previously unimagined. But entering and crossing through entails a risk. Anything might happen. Not passing through while safe means you will never know what's on the other side. It's a bit like Schrodinger's cat. You don't know if the cat is dead because you've not opened the box. Is he living? Is he dead? Who knows until you open the box. That is a threshold. That is liminal. Who is God of the liminal deities? He's a God of God, Janus. So it is everywhere for a reason. It's been changed. I've talked about the great vowel shift, and I've talked about the shift to him. The frequencies, it's all energy, frequency and vibration. So you need a key, the skeleton key. So it can sometimes seem that the distance between knowing and not knowing is negligible. Some words I have problems with. We teach students something they didn't know and then they know it. But this appearance of learning is in many cases just the first tentative steps in embedding new concepts. See, it's all about embedding. Embedding. It's like the arches. They're embedded in the circuit board world. They're embedded around us. We see the arches, and you can go around your town. You see significant arches. The rest of the building's been destroyed, but the archway, the doorway, always stays. It's because it's siphoning the energy, like I've showed you. It always kept, and when they broke, they discharged from surface and they bricked up. So learning. So in many cases, it's just the first tentative step in embedding new concepts in long-term memory. In actual fact, the gap or liminal space between knowing and not knowing is mysterious and largely hidden from us. So it's like occult, it's supernatural, science can't basically say what it is. So it's all of the above. Liminality is a transitional, transformational state where we are in initial stages of a process or occupying a position at or at both sides of the boundary. What's it sound like, guys? I'm just describing a god. What and doorways? What the anthropologist Victor Turner described as betwixt and between the states of restless flux is something all of us struggle to pin down, even our own minds. There is little hope of being able to pinpoint a moment in time and then claim to be the precise moment at which a pupil crosses a particular threshold and learns. So look at the image they've used on the site. You've got a mess, a maze, a labyrinth in the middle, not knowing and knowing. So it's a process. These are the doors, these are the thresholds, and this is a process of knowing. I've always talked about like a collective consciousness, a greater consciousness, where most or all our long-term memories are stored. We have memories stored inside us in blood, basically ancestral, and we also have short-term memory, and the subconscious, as I said, controls it. Well, basically, if we're using a subconscious to access memories, are these memories subliminal or are they our own? Because I'll let into a secret, because a lot of the people in the community get triggered when, you know, like people are saying, oh, they're misremembering and it's not, and they know it's their memory. Listen, I believe in it. So people can't excuse me for trying to, you know, gatekeep different things. I'm just trying to come to terms with it and try and progress different theories on it, instead of just basically showing residue week in, week out that people send to you and people claiming to be there for everyone. You know, we're all learning. We're all in this together. Some people see it, some people don't. That's cool, because we're not here to see everything that everyone else sees. So these are the doors, these are the threshold between not knowing and knowing. And because I believe in a greater consciousness, and people call it the Akashic records, the source, the Akachi records, because my pronunciation is awful. A source, one, the creator, whatever, memories are stored outside. And basically we connect to these memories constantly. We're uploading and downloading constantly. Isn't it funny that when we walk through an arch or a doorway in a house, like we said, the doorway effect, which adds to 11, disconnects us from source. So we forget. And when I did the doorway effect video, people were saying what has happened to me. I've said, right, I'm going to go into the other room for something. I've gone in the other room and I've totally forgot what I was going in for. I've had to go back into the other room and the memories come back, because the memory has been disconnected from source, from your memories. The process of not knowing to knowing. It's crazy, isn't it? And I believe this is what's happening in the Mandela effect. the process of downloading our memories to remember is not the same memory that we uploaded. It's slightly changed because of the path. You can see it here's a maze, and what I'm doing, I'm going to put on the screen and actually put a clear one, because I believe before everything it was a straightforward process of, you know, obviously the doors, the thresholds, and the lines, which make 11, and the process of thinking, it hits the transition. That's the bridge in the middle, the transition. I believe it used to run smoothly between not, you know, downloading and uploading, which is obviously the process of thinking, the memories, and the collective consciousness. But the memory is in this place that we call the Akashic records, the Akashic, whatever you pronounce it. It's in the greater consciousness, the collective consciousness, and it's in water, the waters above. Waters above, remember, the word of God broke the waters above. So you had waters above, you had the waters below, and the void in the middle, the doorway, which is the threshold. And if you know the ancient word for water is mem, M-E-M. Isn't that strange? That it sounds like memory. Isn't it funny that mem in gematria is 65 and adds to 11? That's just a coincidence. I've talked about mem. It looks like a frequency. It's memory waves. It's how we think. It's how we try. You know, you can call it Wi-Fi, but it's still a frequency. It's still a wave. Isn't it a coincidence that memory is memory waves? Brain waves. That's to 11. Just another coincidence, that, Paul. And what does the Mandela effect? It affects your memory. Mandela affects memory. That, if that had to 11, Paul, that would be just another coincidence, and it does. 9, 11, 9, 10, 11. So it's strange that the Mandela affects memories. There's a frequency, where energy, frequency, and vibration, and we saw in the thoughts, in the collective consciousness of thoughts, we're downloading and uploading these thoughts. But what door are they going through? If they're going through the subconscious, we don't actually know we're doing it. What if we are learning subliminally, and we remember someone saying in a group or a chat, or we see a picture, and what if that picture was altered and it changed the name or something? We've remembered that subliminally, and it's in our subconscious, and when we've gone to access that, we state we remember this, and you're remembering it. It's part of your memories. But how do we know it's your memory? And if there's waters above and waters below, and basically even waters here, we're breathing in water, basically a gas. Now, as in the middle shows you, it was a mess, and then I believe before, a lot of these frequencies like HARP, like geoengineering, chemtrailing, messed up the connection, the threshold between, uploading, downloading, knowing and knowing. They've messed it up, our connection. I've always talked about they're trying to break the connection to God and source, like doorways and archways. It's why they've kept them. They've bastardized them. Originally, they were there for our benefit, and now it's nefarious. So if we change this clear straight line between the process of thinking to memories and mesh it up like a ball, like a maze, a labyrinth, think about it. How is the transition of your memories going to be through that? There's no straight line. It's all over the place. Are we accessing different parts of the brain? Are we accessing a common denominator of memories? Because we do share core memories. And is this being accessed? Are we accessing other people's? Because I do believe we access long-term memory from above. Think about it. The subconscious, we don't know where that lies or what it does. But if that controls 95% of the body, what the hell, no pun intended, is going on? It's just breathtaking, isn't it? That we have a phenomenon going on called the Mandela effect. I want to rename it to the liminal effect, or the threshold effect, or the Janus effect. Because it's a process. Think about it. I want to remember something now, so you start to do the process of, wanting that memory. It has to go through a transition. So it has to go through a doorway. So it's all doors, and he's the God of doors. I've made this video and I've not mentioned him that much because I wanted to show so much more from that. So you saw all them different things. It's just crazy. I mean, there's also talk of latent thinking and in the mind, because latent is existing but not yet developed or manifest. It's hidden or it's concealed. There's voice to skull technology. People call it voice to God technology. Implanting thoughts. You've got MK Ultra. We cannot be in a position where we say we are 100% correct on our memories. I'm honest and know that. Sometimes I will think, I will swear down that this is my memory. But we're easily persuadable. And if we're accessing memories from the subconscious that come from some subliminal messaging, who knows? We cannot say we're 100% everything. We have to say, yep, there is a possibility, but I still do believe it is my memory is being altered. I've been in a position where I saw something that's blown me away, and I've been in a group of that's happened to. How can that happen? Unless we're downloading a collective memory. It doesn't make sense, but we have to progress it. We can't just stay like that. I was saying in this, we cannot not open the door. People are scared. Honestly, people in the community and other channels are scared to research Janus because of where it will lead. I'm never scared of researching anything. Do I have time to research everything? I don't. You know what I mean? There's only so many hours in the day. But it's just brilliant. Think about it. You got subliminal, below the threshold. Liminal means occupying a position at both sides of a boundary. The initial stages of you thinking. Liminal is the threshold, but it's also part of the subliminal. So it's crazy how this liminal gets everywhere again. Liminal space. A space where you have left something behind, yet you are not fully in something else. It has a transitional space. So we're ever expanding. So if we're ever expanding our thought through research, that research will change how we think and how we upload and upload. And it's just a crazy idea that it has to be a part of the mind. That's the common denominator. Where are memories stored? Are they alternate through frequency? Because obviously cymatics changes the medium. You get lovely patterns, but you can also get weird shaped patterns. So I believe they're using cymatics in their favour. Frequencies, we know about harp. People in the community, some believe CERN is doing it. Some people don't want to give them credit because it's science. We don't know if they're actually doing anything. But CERN is CERNing us. CERNing us is the horn god, and the horn god is Janus. He's a god of doorways. He's a liminal god. So CERNing us. CERN's opening portals, doorways. Is it all frequency based? Because they're changing, they're bombarding us. If you can alter the path from not knowing to knowing, or the collective consciousness to actually thinking of the memory that you want to re-upload, and you mess up the transitional space and you altering it or changing it, it's crazy. Because think about it, even people who are diehard in the Mandela effect, they say, why have they changed the name of a banana or a shape of a banana? What possible reason could they have in that? And that's my point. We are, I don't like using the word truthers, but we are really looking into things that we already know and we've forgotten about. Again, it's about the memory. Now, this is the point. We can see certain things because we're open to it. The mind's open, and all the information is flowing from all these different areas. And how many times have we been told a theory and we've adopted it as our own? The mind, I don't even know what the mind is, but I do know it's a strange place and it has an effect. Many times I've seen things that are not actually there. So, you know what I mean? It is a tricky place. But even what I'm saying today in regards to the Mandela effect, I believe it's fascinating to look at something else. What's causing this disruption? Is this the point of the AI? Is the AI breaking down because people believe we live in a simulation? If all the memories are affecting, Why does it only happen to a certain amount of people who can see it? Well, you've got so many doors that's open. Frequency based. When you attune to someone, you are on the same wavelength. If you're on the same wavelength, you are downloading the same memories. People will get triggered, but it's just life. We just have to learn that we know shit. I don't know anything. I'm winging it. Wing through life, enjoying life, trying to make myself laugh, trying to make people smile and laugh, and learn some shit in between. Doesn't mean it's right. No, people call the way I do geometry saying it's wrong. Why is it wrong? Who taught you? Did you learn off the internet? Who controls the internet? We make our own way. We all have our own doors, and we all have our own passwords. Remember the Great Vowel Shift video? You cannot learn all the words until you know all the words and get past the archons. Arches. All there. It's all in videos. I used to talk about Janus quite a lot, but I do a lot of other videos. And I've never wanted to say, but I'm very proud of the content I put up. You know what I mean? A lot of people say you don't get enough subs. Well, I can't force people to watch my content. You either take to it or you don't. And I just love the fact that the people we have make me so proud to be in the community. How long will I stay in the community? I don't know. I just go from video to video. I do get sick of these gatekeepers who pretend to be saviors. It's crazy how people follow people you don't follow. Don't follow me. I'm just like you. I just want to learn different shit. I learn from the comments. It's a beautiful place. So students come to our lessons knowing many things. Some of these things are useful foundations for future learning, but others are naive misconceptions about the way the world works. We all see the world in a different way. The world is the word. God, a God, something godly changed the word to the world. It's constant, it's moving, it's manifestation. I've always said the world is how we see it. Because what we learn, if you do not learn nothing, you'll see the world for what they say it is. The more knowledge you gain, you attune to different frequencies. What people will attune to one way and see the world in that way. And until they attune to other frequencies, you get people like me who are so open to all concepts that, you start to progress. Oh, well, fair enough. That's how it is. That's how it is for them. Let's move on to something else and look into something differently. So the world works. We teach a new concept. The new idea may momentarily displace the existing misconception. Student performance will increase and they may be able to do something they previously weren't able to do. Repetitive, like muscle memory. You do something enough. It's like with memories. You subliminally send a message, or you put it in a subconscious, or you put it in logos, the word. It, imprints, embeds in your psyche. So displacing the existing misconceptions, students' perform will increase, and they may well be able to do something they were previously unable to do. The performance might represent a last change in long-term memory, but it's likely to be just mimicry. When students have our lesson, the new idea has been introduced, begins to fade, and older, more established ideas return to prominence. So it's talking about how our older memories, how we remember it the first time, always comes back. That's why people say, well, I remember this, because that is your long-term embedded memory. Yet we're seeing with our visual eyes now different residues, because remember, everything is a wave and a frequency. We're picking up different frequencies. That's it. We're opening up different doors. So doors could hold the memories. You open up different doors researching it. You will let in different memories subliminally, and that goes to the subconscious. So we're seeing things now, and we're saying, "Well, I remember that," and look at it. It's changed. Well, it has to be in regard to memory. I've showed you. It adds to 11, which is his doorway, which is a transition. This might explain the frustrating phenomenon of students forgetting what they have been taught between lessons. The transition, going through doors, going through arches, disconnects us from source. Although students will often remember a topic being covered and they believe they know the material, they sometimes can be an illusion. They remember that they knew a thing, but will not be aware that they no longer knew it. Assuming students' performance is reliable evidence of learning can be disastrous. Instead, no matter what students think they know, we should plan to reintroduce new concepts of multiple occasions and in a range of different contexts. Remarkably, a professor in New Zealand was able to use data from his project and remarkably predicted 80 to 85% accuracy, which concept, principles and generalizations and procedures each student would learn. A lot of us are very predictable in a way, you know what I mean? If we have a favourite YouTuber, we'll go to them first before we watch everyone else. It's what they do. They watch our clicks. Remember, they have basically electrical, they have voodoo dolls of us in the AI world. All our clicks, all our dislikes creates an online version of us, and they know what we are going to do. So when you talk about something, it pops up on your screen, a phone. I've even had it when I've just been thinking about it, and it pops up on the screen. If they hadn't experienced 3 exposures, the probability of a concept would be retained decrease in proportion to their exposure. So they're talking like mind control in a sense, or the world. We're exposed to everything in this world. Doesn't matter if you do not see it, you are still exposed to it. So if someone, for instance, believes that a Mandela effect, what's the new one? Sex in the City, Sex and the City, Sex of the City, or George with a tail on top, George the monkey without a tail. If you are mixing with people who believe the other, remember, we all have a field. And I've talked about that, Taurus, not Taurus, the Taurus field. We all have a field, energy. Well, we're basically exposing ourselves. So when we come into contact with the other one, you take on mimicry, you mimic them. You will observe and soak up. Basically, like, when you get kidnapped and you start to become friends with the kidnapper, Stockholm Syndrome. Well, we have that with people. Doesn't matter. Subliminally, you're exposing yourself to this frequency of a memory. You will soak up that frequency. It's a crazy world we live in, but this is what's going on. So you might be thinking, yes, I know it's that's that core memory, the old memory. Yet you're getting all these other new memories and new exposures of changes, because we're exposing ourselves to a world where people are seeing differently. We always see things differently, and that's why I'm trying to get in my videos. We always say, how did I hide that? It's hidden in plain sight. It's hidden in sight because it's a frequency, and when you expose yourself, and no, I don't mean drop your drawers, anyone, but in this world, we're exposing ourselves to everything, from the elites, the cabal, to evil, to different types of things, and we soak it up. We are sponges, we're doors, especially if you're open. Remember, they get your birth certificate, they give you a number. That number is like your IP address. That is your door number. They're knocking at your door, and it's just crazy. So when new ways of seeing the world are continually reintroduced, they make ever-increasing links and connections to different mental schema. So if you reintroduce something, if you're open-minded and you get reintroduced to a new world, for instance, when people were going from a case of it was a globe to the flat earth to concave, whatever, when you introduce you to another reinforced idea, if you're open-minded, you'll set to either model or any other model, and then you're seeing the world for how it is, and you're like, wow, do you know what I mean? And that will then become stronger and embedded in you, in your long-term memory. So that's how it changes. Gradually, these new concepts weaken and replace pre-existing ones. In Emerging Minds, Robert Siegel visualised this process as a tide coming in and overlapping waves, ebbing and flowing. As a new concept is encountered, the tide rushes up the beach only to ebb back as old ideas re-emerge. At any given moment in time, students may not appear to be making progress, and misconception may have been returned to the fore during a particular performance, but with repetition and reinforcement of key ideas, the tide will continue to rise. That's what they're doing. They're trying to basically change our old way of thinking. This is probably a more useful metaphor for the process of the brutal linearity of the flight path of the ladder. So it blows my mind when I look at different things. I mean, entering a liminal space engages us in the exciting process of mastery, but it can feel dangerous. Grasping difficult new concepts changes us, and changes is always uncertain. Although preliminal understanding of the world is vague, it saves small wonder some students prefer the safety of mimicry rather than the risk of mastery. Mimicry, we talk about how the devil mimics and reflects, but he cannot create, he just mimics. Strange, isn't it? And it talks about doorway. So I just find it fascinating that this could tie into the Mandela effect, because it's a way of how we think. And I have to do more studying. I'll have to, I'm just starting the journey of this, and this is at the beginning. I wasn't sure whether to include it, but you can see how I'm going to involve with this or any other idea. We're learning as we go. Someone will comment, and that will put me onto a different path. It's all about doors. It's all about thresholds. If you're stuck at the same door, you're not going to see anything. If you're not open-minded, this will trigger you. If you're open-minded, you've just learned something else and you've moved on the path. It's crazy. So, like I've showed you about memory, all adds up to 11. And it just blows me away. So hopefully you've enjoyed this little theory. Hopefully it made sense. But hopefully in the future, it will make more sense once I grasp the reality of what I'm trying to get at. In my head, it's like an Oscar-winning film, and it's very understandable. But getting that out, that's the trick. Sorry about that long, unwindy bit that I always say when I'm reading out something long. But look at this to add to what I've just been saying. The Mandela effect in geometry equals 1, 2, 8, and I add them 1 or 2 at 8 equals 11. Tell me that's not a wow. It's showing you that the Mandela effect is a threshold, is a door. But wait, let me type in the Mandela effect is a door, and let's see what we get. 623 adds 2, you got it, 11. The number, the lift me up, the delete, the doorway, Janus's number represents a doorway, 2 posts, the threshold is 11. The Mandela effect adds to 11, the Mandela effect is a door, adds to 11. This cannot be a coincidence, and it just blows my mind. It really does. In this video, I want to get to the bottom of what is L-even or L11. I've been talking about 11 for so long, so in this, I want to show you what L11 even means, the etymology of that, and let's get to the bottom of it if we can. Now let's start at the beginning. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Genesis 1:1. What do we see? We see the doorway. The L11, even Genesis. Remember, Janus is Genoa, so it really goes this deep. Let's see if I can make sense in this video. Right, let's have a look at some more. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. John 1:1. Remember, Janus is a derivative of John, or John is a derivative of Janus. 11 again. In Greek, the word for beginning, origin or source. Right, I'm not telling you what it is just yet. And later, first principle or element. So it's a significant word that we're going to come up with for all this. Means first place, method of government, empire, realm, authorities and command. What is this word? It is arch or arche. Can you just see how significant this is, guys? If only we knew a god of arches and a god of beginnings who associates with the number 11. Oh, arch in gematria adds to, you got it, 11. God of arches in gematria is 101. Again, the doorway, L11, 11. Oh, let's just add Janus to this. Janus, god of arches. 1, 2, 3, 5 adds 2. You got it. 11. Who? Janus is the Roman god of beginnings. It's like it's all planned. It's like I've found something. But no, we'll just say it's a coincidence. Here's another verse with beginning and creation. Just look at the number. You have laid the foundation of the earth from the beginning. Remember, beginning is arch, so it's the earth from the arch, and the heavens are the work of your hands. Hebrews 1:10. Another L11. So in this video I want to try and explain what's going on in this crazy head, show you the etymology, like I've said, of L11, because a lot of people have been talking about that in the chats on my premieres. So guys, buckle up, use your discernment, because you're gonna need it. So the Tower of Babel, or Babel, is significant, right? I've done a video on it, the Great Vowel Shift, or the Babel Effect. The story is meant to explain why the world's people speak different languages. So you can see how significant it is. Babylon, right, was where people sought to build a tower that reached to the heavens, the realm of the gods. So the Lord said, if as one people speaking the same language, they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language, so they will not understand each other. So a bit like a kid with Monopoly. Now, have a think. So when was this significant moment in time first mentioned in the Bible? Yep, you got it, Genesis 11. And while we're on Mesopotamia, Babylonia, it reminded me of this. Now remember King Nebuchadnezzar the second, but it looks like an 11, doesn't it? That's what always made me laugh. Of Babylon sets up Zedekiah to rule Judea. He lasts 11 years, so it's a significant number again. Now another significant moment is the finding of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now you might think they're fake or real, it doesn't matter, it's still a significant part of his story. Can you remember just how many caves they were found in? Now this got me, it absolutely blew me away. 11. Yeah, 11 caves. They were found in 11 caves. Now there's something huge on this that I'm going to touch on a bit later on that will tie it all together, and it'll just seriously blow you away. So there's 11 caves. Oh, the Dead Sea Scrolls in gematria add to 137, which is 11. Are these just coincidences, or have I found something, or is it Pareidolia number sense? It could be anything. I always admit this. Lazarus of Bethany being resurrected appears in John 11. Remember, John is a derivative of Janus. The Apostle John saw 11 things in connection with the final judgment. That's in Revelation. Right guys, here's an old video. Basically it's an old clip from the doorway effect. So Logos is tied to the Word, right? And remember John 1:1, which blew me away. It was both Janus and his number 11. In the beginning was the Word. That, as we know, is Logos. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So whatever the Word is God. Now what I found is not only just shocked me to my roots, I'm just like, no way. I can't believe it. So as you know, I like working with words. So I looked for the anagram of word, and the best one I could get was DORW, because it really sounds like door, like a little accent. And people always talk about Idrisil as the tree. Well guys, this will blow you away. The Proto-Indo-European word for oak is DORW, door, and that became the word for a door. So the oak is a doorway between worlds, as it lives between the worlds. Tell me that isn't wow. And as I've shown you in previous videos, Janus is also known as the oak. And I am the door now makes you think, wow. John isn't Giano, is Janus, and Janus is the god of doorways and is tied to the oak tree. Could you not get any more wow than that? So the word translates anagrams into DORW, dwar, and that was the old name for the oak tree that got made to be used as what we say now as the door. So I've connected the word of God to the door. Just wow. I'm still wowing guys, I'm just so excited. I'm like a little kid.